Welcome everybody to the Third Touch Soccer Podcast. My name is Sam Leamy. I'm here with Connor Walsh and Michael McLaughlin, two strapping young lads over there. What's going on, lads?
Not much. How are you, buddy?
I'm alright. Just cooked some lasagna for the kiddo. He's upstairs playing Nintendo, so I've just trapped myself in the basement. You look like you're in the basement yourself, mate.
I am. We were in the basement last night. Sam had a Oscars party last night, and after about 10 minutes, we found ourselves playing footy in the basement because it was dreadful. But
Do you watch the Oscars, Mike?
Yeah, I watched the. Well, no, I didn't watch it. I watched a little bit of it. It makes me uncomfortable too much. I got turned off.
What do you mean it's too much?
It's just too much. It's just too much forced. Like people that don't like each other like each. I couldn't take it. I just gotta turn it off. It was weird.
Do you get angry from the Oscars?
Do I get angry at that?
Yeah,
No,
do you
I
get
don't
angry at the people? I thought it was like really...
Yeah.
I think it's getting... I don't know if it's because we're getting older, but it just looks like trashier every year.
Yeah, it
Doesn't
looks fake. It looks so surreal. I don't. It just doesn't seem... I used to be impressed by it, I guess, when I was a kid.
that thing with all like the people that were supposed to be tourists that just happened to stumble into the Oscars was the fakest, most scripted thing I've ever seen in my life. That was dreadful. That was terrible.
It was bad all around. Yeah, like Connor said, we just got so bored. He's texting me when I'm in the other room, and he's like, "You want to go downstairs and get touched?" And I was like, "What? I want to go downstairs and get touched?" And then he corrected himself, touches. But yeah, we went downstairs, kicked the ball around, and then I ate a couple of pizzas just before bedtime. Great planning there. Thanks for that,
There you
Connor.
go.
So yeah, Mike, you're in Boston this weekend. For your
I was in Boston. Actually, guys, I did another podcast, and I plugged our podcast.
Really?
On the other podcast, yeah.
What was that? What was the other podcast called?
Listen, don't ask me all these questions. No, it was. I think it was like called Inside the Joke or the Joke. I don't know. The guy named Ryan hosted it. It was really good. I'll put it up. We'll put it on the Third Touch. We'll put it up on the Third Touch the Twitter. So it was actually a good time. And then and we had some shows. It was great. It was fun. It was a fun weekend. I was there with a friend of mine, Dwayne Murphy Jr., another comic.
Oh, yeah,
so
it
was good. It was great. It was a great weekend. Yeah,
do you feel good about it?
My Aunt Peggy came to the shows. It was fun. No, it was awesome. Yeah, it makes me want to live in Boston. I don't want to think I want to be in New York. So it was like that. How was your weekend?
It was all right. Just went out a little bit on Friday. Worked Saturday, obviously, and then watched the cup final on Sunday with yours truly up top.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Did you watch the cup final? Did you watch the cup final, Mike?
Oh yeah, the Carling Cup final. Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
or
the EFL.
EFL Cup final.
Yeah.
Chase Bank Cup. What is it called? No, I didn't watch it. I saw it was 2-2. I was like, oh man, and then I saw the final score. So congratulations to United, another trophy.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that later. But firstly, I just want to introduce, we have a guest today, CJ Trammel. I got your name right, CJ Trammel? That's correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
How's it going? Welcome to the Third Touch podcast, mate. How's things?
Thanks.
So,
glad to be here.
Yeah, you're part of the marketing team at DC United.
Yeah, that's correct.
You're one of Connor's friends here.
Me and CJ spent some time on the Waynesburg soccer pitch together, the Division III mates right here. My former college buddy. And CJ was the grad assistant that got kicked off the soccer team for being at a party with his players.
I think Connor just wants to get you in trouble.
Yeah, just like
it's good.
All right.
No, welcome to the Third Touch podcast. I mean, MLS is coming up next week. Well, Friday's the opening game. Yeah, tell us a little bit what you do at DC United. Firstly, and then we'll get into the bashing.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so I guess when I graduated college, I landed an internship with DC United. I grew up as a fan, lived about an hour from the stadium or so. So I grew up as a fan and just kind of applied on a whim for the internship and ended up getting it. Had no clue I wanted to be in marketing, and that's kind of what led me to that. When that came to an end, I joined the street team, which is now called the District 96 or whatever they call it. But it's just a marketing group, so we go out to a bunch of different events. Game days we do. We just kind of promote the team through name capture and all that stuff. And I don't know, just try to make sure everyone has a good time. Really, that's our goal. So it's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome job. And yeah, like Connor just mentioned, you went to college with Connor. You played on the soccer team.
Yeah, absolutely. Met Connor, I guess, when he was a young buck, a little freshman. What was I, senior, Connor?
Yeah, CJ was a senior my freshman year, then came back after a year for grad school at Waynesburg. So we ended up spending 3 years together. But he's a few years older than me.
So you can only play 4 years of college, right?
Yeah. So
how many years did you play at Waynesburg?
My junior and senior year were both at Waynesburg, so 2 years there.
Do you enjoy the program there? Do you enjoy the banter? I mean, I heard you got into some a little bit of trouble in your junior year. Was it your junior year that you got in trouble?
I guess it was. Well, there was a couple of different instances, but
we got in a lot of trouble as a team.
Yeah, we had some good time. Blue Footy was a little bit wild, but I mean, it was I don't know, it was a good time. I mean, I guess I did get in trouble my senior year, and then again in the grad program. So,
all right, tell us a bit about that, Connor. Why did you drag CJ into trouble?
I don't think I dragged Coach CJ anywhere. CJ was more than down for the lifestyle, the culture at Waynesburg. But no, we were at a party. CJ was at a party because just like any good coach, you drink with your players after a big overtime win against Bluffton. And I was pictured throwing up middle fingers, and CJ's face was like barely in the background in the darkness. And like when the coach was like, "Can you tell me who that is in the background?" I genuinely didn't know because you really couldn't tell it was CJ. So he must have studied like under a microscope and determined that CJ was at the party as well, because you really couldn't tell it was him. But somehow coach figured it out, and CJ got sacked. I got
sorry.
It's funny. It was probably like couple, maybe 3-4 weeks into my coaching career, and I was already out of a job. It was
right.
It was something crazy.
Great.
You and Bob Bradley have a lot of parallels.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, but I mean, it sounds like you've enjoyed soccer throughout your whole life. Obviously, still passionate about it right now. That's why you got yourself into marketing, and it sounds like a very interesting job. So, with DC United, how long have you been working for them for?
I started in 2013 as an intern, and then worked various roles with the team up until now. I just had orientation for this season, so actually on Saturday, I believe. So
like the outline of your role with the club is obviously to help the team grow, the MLS grow, or like a combination of both?
It's like a combination of both. So like given day, obviously this year I guess we're going to be doing a lot more watch parties for away games. So we're just trying to grow DC United's footprint within the district, if you will. So the goal is to get to a point where everyone knows, in the area at least, knows of DC United, because believe it or not, sometimes we'll go to an event and someone will say, "Who are you guys?" And we have to explain to them. Yeah,
wow.
It's crazy, but it's a lot better than what it was, and so I'm happy for that.
In your about 4 years now at the club, how have you seen the club grow, and how have you seen the league grow from like a first-hand, up-close experience?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my first year at the club was, I think, the worst year in DC United's history, actually. So it was pretty brutal being there, but we ended up winning the Open Cup, which was huge. So it was one of the things that they say about DC United is, I mean, we win trophies, I guess. So like a lot of times people bring that up, but that year was terrible to be there as like a part of the staff, I guess. But crowds weren't great all the time. But it's great to see now, like, the turnout that we're getting and things like that, even at old RFK, which if no one's been there, definitely go check it out before they tear that sucker to the ground. But I'm excited for the new stadium coming up as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about the new stadium in a second, but in terms of competition with other sports, I mean, what do you have down there? You have the Washington Capitals, they're called, right? The hockey team.
Yep.
And then the Redskins, and what's the basketball team? Wizards, right?
And the Nationals as well.
And the Nationals. So it's a really big sporting town. Where would you rank kind of the interest amongst the town folk for DC United? Is it above certain clubs, or are they kind of still at the bottom?
I mean, honestly, I think it seems like the DC United fans are like pretty passionate compared to like some of the like maybe the Wizards. They kind of come and go. Not to bash the Wizards at all, but I mean, like the people that you're even when the team's bad, we're still getting fans in the seats, which is great. And I think not every team in DC can say that. Obviously, the Capitals have been good for the last couple of years, so they have been doing well. They have a pretty good following as well. Redskins, not too familiar with what they do, but I'm assuming they do well just being in the NFL and getting some pretty big matchups every year. So.
Right, and how much pressure is on you and kind of your team to generate those kind of fans to the games?
It can be at times like, I guess we don't feel it necessarily on every given day, but like we're going out to events all over DC, so we're promoting the club. We have like a lot of cool ticket packages, like they have a beer on us package where we give out like basically these cards, and they can go on and get like 2 tickets, 2 beers, and it's like the price of 2 tickets. So it's not a big savings, but like just doing things like that, I think helps promote it to like people our age, that are soccer fans and beer fans, and so I think that helps out a lot. And then at game days, it's just all about the atmosphere and what we can provide to make it a better time. So
yeah, and obviously working for a team in the nation's capital, there's a lot of tourists that come and go, and they normally come and just like view a game. How many season tickets do you have? Do you see that number growing per year right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I'm sure it is growing because they're doing a lot of, they're pushing a lot for with the new stadium on the way. They're pushing a lot. Get your ticket, basically get your seat now. If you don't, you're going to miss out. So it's definitely probably grown in the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, so with the new stadium, I know that they literally broke ground today. I know just talking to you over the years, you've been there basically since the beginning of this experience of trying to get a new stadium. How much of a struggle has it been? And do you think that the city is overall excited? Or, I mean, I know that RFK must be the worst venue in the league by far. I mean, maybe you hold it close to heart in your opinion, but
what's the new stadium called? Blizzard Stadium? What's it called?
It's it's at Buzzard Point. It's Audi Field at Buzzard Point. Yeah. But yeah, Connor, good question. Yeah, so RFK is obviously, I mean, I'll tell you this again, definitely go see it before it goes down. The stands are like on the supporter side bounce. I don't know if you guys know that. So like they'll be jumping and the whole thing will be rocking. It's a pretty cool thing to see. And it's a huge tailgate spot too. So that's pretty great as well.
CJ, it's my understanding that Freddie Adu's jersey is retired at RFK Stadium. Are they going to move that to the new stadium?
They probably should, honestly. No, but it is funny that you bring up Freddie Adu. When I was young, we actually went to a game, a United game, obviously, and I forget who it was against, and he had just, his first year in the league, and I don't think he had been on the field yet, and next thing you know, the whole crowd's just chanting like Freddie, Freddie, Freddie. Finally, I forget who the coach is at the time, looks over the bench and tells him to warm up, and everyone it just was a madhouse. Like everyone was going crazy. And
that game against Celtic at RFK, it's still one of the best MLS performances. I loved it. But Sam, you saw that game, right?
Yeah, I did. It was great.
Yeah, Mike, yeah, it was great.
It was a great, selfish performance by a 21-year-old at the time. He was probably 21.
I will say this as a neutral watching DC United when they are at home, it is kind of like on TV, it just doesn't pop. I mean, compared to Seattle and Portland and Kansas City, it just doesn't. It's just it would be nice when they get this new stadium to make it like more.
So
yeah, definitely.
So, sponsored by Audi, what's the capacity going to be at the new stadium?
I want to say it's going to be right around 20,000. 15 to 20,000 is the the range, and then I think they have a plan to up it to 25.
Okay.
Is I guess the goal.
Is the stadium outside the city? Like a lot of teams you've seen in the MLS have gone to cheaper, land like they've done in England. That happened in the last 20 years, and it's kind of starting to happen now with teams moving out to poorer areas.
Yeah, they there's a lot of talk about it, and the team actually threatened a couple of times, to my understanding, to move out of the city because a lot of people wanted the team to obviously stay in the city. It's a lot of money for the city. They threatened to move to Northern Virginia. They threatened to move to Maryland. Finally, they got a great piece of land right near Nats Park, so they're trying to make that like a little sporting kind of complex. Hopefully put up a few bars over there, so provides a little good atmosphere. I think it'll be a nice little setup.
That's great. You see a baseball game during the day and then catch the United in the afternoon. We just talked about Freddie Adu. Is this number really retired? No, that's a joke, right?
no, it's not.
Is there any?
He's only 27.
Is there any players that numbers are retired?
Yeah, I don't think they really call it like retiring the number. Like they have their like Hall of Tradition is what they call it. One of the biggest players of recent memory would be Jaime Moreno, but I believe Eddie Pope is probably in it as well. Marco Echeverri, some of the greats from the early teams, but no Freddie Adu. So
right.
I know that.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. I know that during your time as in various positions throughout the club, you've had some pretty cool experiences up close and personal with players. Can you just tell us what some of the coolest stories are, or in general, how close do you get to be to the players on a weekly basis?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. So where I was as an intern, they called it the dungeon kind of. So you're underneath of RFK, and there's this little office space, and the next door up is the door to the hallway to the locker room. So we're literally right next door. When they're working out, you can hear their music because their gym is backed up to our little office. When I was an intern there, I don't know how it's set up anymore, but it was really cool. There was a time they asked some of the interns to take the players to the airport for one of their games, and I was driving the team van, and Dwayne De Rosario hopped in shotgun, and I never thought I'd be starstruck by Dwayne De Rosario, but I got in the car, and then next thing you know, I look over at him, and I'm just sitting there not talking, hands on the steering wheel, just driving, and then he's starts talking to me about music. I forget what he was talking about, and so it was pretty cool. To be that close, I guess, to what is, I guess, an MLS legend almost.
Pretty close.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but yeah.
Have you ever been starstruck, Connor?
Not really. No. No.
Who's the coolest person you met?
The coolest person I've ever met up close. Nah, definitely not you, Sam. I understand that you're a B-list celebrity here in Albany, but no, probably Young Roddy. He's a rapper from New Orleans. I met him in Pittsburgh. I jumped the fence to get into the concert. I was mad hammered. And I was yo, and he was just outside the venue, and me and my boy, Nate Rebar, shout out to Rebar, our goalie at Waynesburg. We got a picture with him, but I was never been starstruck.
How about you,
When
Mike?
you're a star yourself, you don't get starstruck.
Yeah, I was starstruck a few times, but the one I remember the most was I was 10 years old. I went to see the Chicago Bulls play the Boston Celtics. And I went down to the floor, and I had my Polaroid camera I got for Christmas, and I just started ripping pictures of Jordan. So I was just so enamored with Jordan. I still have 40 pictures of that day.
Really?
That's
pretty cool.
And Ahmad Rashad kept jumping in the shots, thinking I was shooting, taking shots at him. So, and everyone, Ahmad Rashad's waving at me and smiling, but I'm just trying to get out of the way, Ahmad. I'm trying to stare at Michael Jordan here.
That's
he was
great.
doing his warm-ups.
Not really, nah. Chris Pratt.
For all the listeners know, and he's not talking about the movie star Chris Pratt. He's talking about a local bar owner.
Starstruck. I met David Beckham before he was famous, and we were kind of making fun of him when I was at the Bobby Charlton soccer school with my friend from school. And this was a few months before he scored the goal from the halfway line, and he came out and he was, talking. He was only a few years older than us, and he just had this high-pitched, weird voice all before his media training. And we kind of just laughed at him. I have an autograph on one of my Man United shirts, and he was so unknown. I didn't get Beckham on the back. I got Dennis Irwin on the back. And now I got to go and see Uncle Luigi to take Irwin off the back and put Beckham on, just because it will be worth a little bit of money. But starstruck.
I know you've met Matt Letizia, right?
Yeah, and he used to come to our hometown all the time. We used to talk to Matt Letizia. That wasn't really... And I interviewed him for my dissertation at Southampton. I don't know, James Beattie once, when he came and he was dating a girl in my class at college. That was cool when he drove up in his Beamer. That was really cool. And I was like, whoa, just right in his face. Actually, Harry Redknapp as well. Him and Jim Smith. Yeah, that was funny. But I didn't really get... Huh?
Where'd you meet Harry Redknapp?
Well, he was manager of Portsmouth, and that was our training. Portsmouth used to train where we used to play at Southampton. So we used to, Paul Gascoigne was there, Teddy Sheringham in their last stages of their career. We used to see them getting changed and going home all the time. Did you have to
pull Harry Redknapp out of the betting parlors?
Yeah, he was upstairs and we had a team meeting. There's a bar, and him and Jim Smith are betting on the horses upstairs. And we're like, come on, Harry, time's up. you gotta go. Well, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, Di Rosario, definitely a cool story there. I mean,
Canadian legend, I'd say. Di Rosario.
Is he still playing? He's not playing, right? He's done.
No, I think he's done. If he is, I have no clue.
He's probably in China somewhere collecting millions. So yeah, I'm sure you're really busy right now with the season coming up. Opening day is Friday, Portland Timbers against the two new teams. How much do you know about the expansion team? Yeah, carry on.
Portland's not playing both new teams. That's a big day for Portland.
At once.
I said Portland are playing the new team.
There's two new teams.
Yeah, I know, one of the new teams.
You said both the new teams.
All right. Right, Portland are playing Minnesota. I know that for a fact. On Friday, 9:30 Eastern Time. Get your MLS package. So what's concerning for me as a bar owner is
manager.
The shockingly...
No, he owns
manager. I just had a shocker. You've put me off. All right, bar manager. I have to deal with some of the sports packages, phone up and get quotes. And what's kind of concerning, well, I don't know, not concerning for me, but maybe for the MLS and certain teams, is some of the broadcasting rights and how shockingly low it is to get subscriptions for the MLS. Is it what's going on there? Do you have to gain more sponsorship, or how is the MLS going to grow in those terms and create a broader audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be sponsorship. It's got to be through all that brand. One of the biggest things with DC United when I was there was they rebranded recently. So their goal was to make their brand something that could be a global brand versus something that was more American, And that's what a lot of teams I think are trying to do in the MLS is try to make their brand global, and that's your biggest goal. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it comes, I think, through sponsorship, and it comes through playing these teams from other countries and trying to get your name out there and hopefully catch a few fans that way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when I ordered the MLS package last season, it's based on your capacity of the bar. So from bar to bar, it's different costs. I call up DirecTV. I was like, yeah, I'm looking to purchase the MLS package. They had no idea what I was talking about. And then I was like, soccer. It's a soccer package a season. It's like the NFL, but and then she's like, hold on a second, honey. Let me check that for you. And so she's like, smashing a bunch of letters, searching it up. Kids going nuts upstairs. And she's like, that'll be $100. And I was like, what, per month? And she's like, no, for the whole season. I was like, are you serious? $100 for the whole season? That is crazy low. And we got every single game.
For a commercial account?
For a commercial account, $100. And I know, Connor, you're looking to get the package this season. Yeah,
just the MLS streaming package. The only thing you don't get is in-market games. So for me, I wouldn't be able to get New York City FC or the Red Bulls, which isn't a big deal because they're on local TV anyway. but $80 for the entire season, stream every out of market game, and like it's almost a no brainer. Like spend $80 on anything. Like it's not that much money, and it's cool for the fans. But and at some point, I'm sure as the league grows, that price will continue to rise. I know last year I looked into it was 70. It's now up to 80. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just the league is going to continue to grow, so that those prices will go up.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, how excited is everyone in Washington for the season to start, and DC United? How are they? All this hard work. It's 6-7 days until the first game, preseason. How excited are the staff down there?
Yeah, I mean, from what I can see, there. I mean, everyone's ready. The last year in RFK is it's a big deal. My boss, my direct supervisor, she's pumped. We got new jerseys and for a new away jersey, so they're definitely excited for that. And hopefully I get mine for free. The team usually takes care of us with gear to some extent, so I'm hoping I get that. But yeah, I mean, everyone seems to be excited. It's a big year. They're going to do like a countdown for last games in RFK. They're really ready to get rid of that thing. I'm telling you, it's definitely interesting. So
are they literally knocking it down once the season's over?
I'm not sure. I think it's like it's not owned by the club. It's owned by this. I guess it's technically a government entity. It's owned by Events DC. But the original plan. I remember when I was there when they first announced the new stadium. The mayor was there, and she was saying that the goal would be to basically level the stadium, build a new stadium, and try to get the Redskins back in, however many years that would be. So.
Yeah, are there any other tenants using RFK Stadium right now?
Not really. It's basically they rent it out, or I don't know if you want to call it renting, but they'll have concerts in there every once in a while, and I guess some college football like bowl games in there. So it's really just basically just for DC United and then whoever else Events DC books basically. So. They would kind of work around DC United's schedule, it seems like.
That's cool. I mean, we're seeing a lot of new teams in the MLS. You're building new stadiums, and Connor and I are going down this weekend for the opening day down in Orlando there, and they have a brand new stadium right now. And I want to kind of talk about the two new teams as well, Minnesota and Atlanta United, which I kind of love the fact that they've adopted traditional second portions of their name. Connor and I were talking the other day, and we're like, I think the MLS have to scrap all this Real, Salt Lake, this Revolution, Earthquakes, Thundercats, or whatever the team's going to be next. What's a crate? Which is the one that you're kind of more upset about? You love it, right? Actually, Connor, right?
I like the I guess you can call it like the European or like the traditional soccer name because I think it adds more credibility to the club. But at the same time, like Real Salt Lake, like there's nothing royal in Utah. Like Salt Lake City, what? Like it's ridiculous. But I don't like the whole Earthquakes, Revolution, White Caps. Like it's just so unsoccery. Like not to be a nerd, but like
yeah, but the Timbers isn't that bad.
I like Timbers. I can do it because they're good and their fans are sick.
Sounders is not that bad. It's weird. I
feel you. I feel you. And even the Impact kind of works, but it's such a ridiculous. What are you impacting? Yeah. Like I don't know.
So how do you see these two new teams, CJ, coming into the league? Do you think they're going to find it tough, like Orlando City did, or do you think they're going to do it's going to be an okay transition from the NASL to MLS? I know New York City FC were a brand new team, but they did okay the first season, made the playoffs the second season. How do you think those two teams will do coming into the new season?
Yeah, I mean, they both made a little bit of a splash. I mean, Atlanta more so, I think. But overall, I think I think Minnesota won't perform quite as well as Atlanta will. I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta kind of sneaks into a playoff spot in the East, honestly, just because they built a really solid squad. And I mean, I'm kind of upset with that. I feel like that'll be a little bit of a rival being the one of the closest teams to us now, and kind of stealing our color scheme and naming and all that stuff, which was not a little bit of a hot point, but.
Yeah, one thing about the two clubs have taken two very different approaches in the way they've decided to enter MLS. Like you said, Atlanta has Splash Cash. All three of their designated players are young South Americans under the age of 25, which is something that personally I like, that a club is starting off fresh with, in my opinion, the proper way to build around an MLS club is with these young DPs as opposed to 35-year-old Europeans. So I'm excited to see that, and like you said, they've built a good squad. Brad Guzan, Greg Garza, Michael Parkhurst, Jeff Lorenowitz, Kevin Jones. There's a lot of experience there at whether it's been international level, MLS, or just national team. So they do have a legitimate chance at making the playoffs, I think. And then Minnesota's done almost a complete opposite. They have no DP players, made up a lot of their signings using allocation money, whether it's been targeted or general. And they've just, for the most part, kept a lot of their core NASL players, most notably Christian Ramirez and Miguel Ibarra. Ibarra has been called up to the national team before. But from what I've been reading and hearing is that there's some journalists that are saying that Minnesota could be the worst MLS team ever, which is interesting because, they've been talked about having such a good fan base for so long, but apparently they're coming in very unprepared, more or less, with not a strong squad. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens up there. I know that they traded for Kevin Molina from Orlando, good player, 11 goals, 8 assists last year. But yeah, two different approaches, and it'll be kind of fun to see which one works out better. You think about Leicester last year and their approach to whatever, and not that Minnesota's taken the same one, but they haven't spent the money, while Atlanta, a brand new club, has spent the money. So I'm excited to see how those two different paths pay out. I just don't understand the point of not signing a DP player if it doesn't affect your salary cap. Is the money not there in Minnesota?
Is there a window as well? Have they got up to the first day of the season, or can they sign anyone throughout the whole season?
There's transfer windows in the MLS, but it's I think to my understanding, they can still sign a player to a DP contract as long as he's not in a contract, I believe. But it gets, with their DP thing, it might just have to do with trying to convince someone to come live in Minnesota. Honestly, not bashing the whole city or whatever. But
they must have money. They've just paid $150 million to get in this league, and people don't invest $150 million if they only have $150 million. They need spare change, just like buying a house. You need spare change just in case something goes wrong. But they do have Adrian Heath as coach, and he does have a little bit of experience with Orlando, bringing a new team into the league. It'll be good to see how they transition with that. And they're like Connor said, there's no superstars, so the group of players they have was most of the players they have from the NASL, and it'll be interesting to see. You deal with professionals, and you with the academy as well. Is there a huge difference between the MLS and NASL? And if there is a big difference, how do you think? What's the biggest difference?
In my opinion, when you see some, Open Cup draws end up with an MLS team versus lower league, NASL or a USL team or whatever it is, and I've seen it with DC United. They play at smaller venues. Obviously, they don't start some of their guys. And I think that's how all the big clubs treat it when they play these teams. And I think that shows that there is a difference in play. There's some studs in the lower leagues, like Connor said, with Ibarra and that's
Joe Cole.
Who's the kid at Atlanta? The young kid, 16, 17-year-old kid.
Oh, dude, he just had I was showing Sam yesterday. He just had a crazy touch in a preseason game.
You actually kind of look like him, Connor.
Thank you. I wish I was as good as him. Oh, dude, what's his name? We mentioned him on the previous podcast.
So many times.
The striker. Hold on.
Cartwright?
No. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. My fault for interrupting there.
No.
It's my job on this podcast. Send it to a complete halt.
But yeah, it's just you can definitely tell there's a difference in level of play. But there's still talent in the lower leagues, I think, and I think Connor knows that I'm for a open system eventually, and Connor and I have had long talks about this. Usually, probably a little bit drunk, but that's usually the best, I guess. But I guess my views on that and most of the things I'm saying probably don't reflect necessarily what the club thinks. Just to get that out there, so no one thinks that I'm saying what the club feels. I don't want to get them in trouble with any of that. So
let's talk about your club for a second as well.
Andrew Carlton. Yes. Andrew Carlton. He had a ridiculous touch this weekend.
Yeah, the opposition player had his hand up, like thought it went out of play, and he just like carried on. He just like scoop.
Oh, nice.
Easy.
Easy.
Put that on the Facebook page.
Yeah, you should. Get active on Twitter. But yeah, I want to talk about your club for a second as well, DC United. Ben Olsen, have you met the guy? Have you spoken to the guy?
Yeah.
Because he's been this is his 7th, 8th season in charge of DC United?
Yeah, he's a DC legend. People love him there. I mean, he's a great guy. I think he's a trip, honestly. He's hilarious. I think he's a great guy for the job. They say
he's a young coach as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They say he's a great motivator. May not be the best on tactical stuff, but I mean, I think he does the job. And we have one of our assistants, Chad Ashton. He's also really good with all the tactics, and so he kind of fills in where Ben might be lacking a little bit. So it works out well. Side note, we had this thing at DC United where after one of the games, the staff got to drink and play on the pitch, which was a really awesome experience. And Chad Ashton came out to fill out one of the squads, and he was defending me. Actually, he had the ball. He was like running at me. I was like, backing off, giving him his space. He was trying to be all fancy, and he tries to meg me, and I just basically let it through my legs and just step in front of him, keep the ball, and then I turned back around and megged him, and he just was cracking up because it was just, I guess, he was not expecting it at all. But that was just a little Chad Ashton experience. But it was cool, and I mean, like I said, Ben, like his kids are right around the club, so they were, after some of the games, you'd see him and his kids playing out on the field, and it's like cool. You're right down there with them, and he's a great guy. So.
Yeah, I mean, after last season, going out in the playoffs against Montreal, what's the club's expectations every season going in?
I mean, it seems like it's always hit or miss, honestly. Like, I think last year people were saying that we shouldn't have made the play, or that they didn't really expect us to do much, and then we got in there and surprised, I guess, that we were in there. It didn't go quite the way we wanted it to go, and I think this year, it seems to be like what I'm reading. People seem to be discrediting DC United this year, which I don't really see why. I think we built a stronger squad than what we had last year. Another year with some of our younger guys, developing, getting some national team time, and that's for Birnbaum, that is, and I think that's going to be huge for us. We signed some good players, and I'm glad we kept Luciano Acosta around because he's incredible, I think. But
yeah, I mean, last season you finished 4th in the Eastern Conference, won 11, lost 10, tied 13, and the goal differential was only 6 plus. Seems like very inconsistent team last season. I mean, a lot of teams do make the playoffs. And once the expansion gets to its limit, then it's going to be more of a competition. But with Ian Harkes coming in, John Harkes' son, there's a lot of buzz around him coming from Wake Forest. Could have entered the draft early, but I'm sure John Harkes' father was like, "No, son, you're finishing college. You're doing that." And they had a great season as well, Wake Forest. There's a lot of excitement around this guy. How good is this guy?
From what I'm reading, he's like legit. I don't want to put too much pressure on him if he's listening to the Third Touch podcast right now. Please don't get too upset, Ian. But Ben Olsen has even come out and said, like, this kid's got a legitimate shot to see time, like minutes, and like significant minutes for the club, and I mean, I think that's huge to have him around. And I mean, his experience in college has been great. He won the best, or the Player of the Year.
Yeah, he won like
Yeah,
the
the
Heisman Trophy version of
The Mac Herman. The Mac
Yeah,
Herman
Mac
Award
Mac
Trophy,
Herman.
yeah.
is the equivalent to the Heisman. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited to see him play, honestly, and wouldn't mind seeing him, step in there virtually right away and maybe a holding midfield position for the club or something along that line.
What do you think the chances are of him stealing one of the other players' wives in the team? And what player is most likely to have his wife stolen by him?
I think it'd probably be a player yet to be named. It's something down the line. I think he's too young to be stealing wives. I think he's going to enjoy his time in DC, hit the club scene maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, John Hawks has got a lot of free time on his hands now after he just left Cincinnati FC.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there with the Harks family back in DC.
So, I mean, obviously a lot of buzz around this kid. He's been touted as one of the best young talents in the league, along with Jack Harrison over in New York City FC. Do you think he'll start from the off? I mean, he's not that young anymore. I mean, he's 21, 22. He completed his 4 years at college. Also, who is DC United's biggest rival? You mentioned Atlanta United probably going to be is the big rivalry there. What game are you looking forward to the most?
So I think that Ian probably could step into the starting lineup. It seems like Ben he really likes Marcelo Sarvez, I believe is the last name.
Yeah.
He likes him then there at holding. And it seemed like De Leon was getting time there a little bit there and outside back. So there's definitely there's a missing piece in the midfield, and I don't see why Ian couldn't step in and fill it necessarily. So that's something that I think could be in the cards this year. Maybe not off the go, but down the line we'll see some of him, I'm sure.
I mean, we talked about Ben Olsen being there for 7 years. I just want to read out the honors. I mean, the CONCACAF Champions League you won back in '98, the MLS Cup 4 times, 96, 97, 99, and 04. The Support Shield 97, 99, 06, and 07, and the Eastern Conference Championship in 96, 97, 98, 99, and 04. Is there a lot of pressure on Ben Olsen to start delivering silverware here, or are DC United okay with just making the playoffs and building the brand and, attracting more sponsors and supporters?
I mean, I think there comes a time where people are going to want a championship from him. I don't know when that'll be. It seems like the fans still love him, and just talking to some of the supporters, it doesn't seem like they ever blame him for anything that's bad. It's usually, they want, better players and that kind of stuff. And I think that'll happen once we move into the new stadium and kind of get in there. And at that point, once we start getting the players that everyone's kind of demanding, if we don't start winning, it might be a problem. But for now, I don't think he has any issues with any of the supporters or vice versa. So I think he's in good standing right now.
Right, and we talked about the record last season. The MLS is set up by trying to keep it a level playing field amongst all teams. And, you always see, the champions of each conference, they have, a 12-12 and a 12 record. Are you okay with that as a fan? I mean, do you support DC United? Oh, I don't know if you do, but are you okay? Would you be okay with that as a fan? Do you like the MLS setup and how it works?
I mean, it's interesting because for the simple fact that, I guess it doesn't always go this way, but you can technically, it's so close in competition that, a team that didn't really do much last year can have a chance at something big, and you're not far off necessarily, which I like that.
Yeah, the Rapids did great in the Western Conference. No one knew they were going to go.
Yeah, and in the
that's
past,
one thing I will. Sorry to interrupt, CJ. That's one thing I will say that is great about the MLS and just the way the league is at its current time is there's so much parity. Where even last year, I mean, the Rapids did a complete 180, but then Columbus did the same thing. They were in the final the year before, and then were one of the worst teams in the league last year. And you're always seeing new teams up around the top. There are teams with history, DC United would be one of those teams that historically is a top MLS club. But there's a lot of parity, and you don't know who's going to make the playoffs. And I will give the MLS credit for that they have created a pretty balanced league. And it makes it more fun for neutral fans, I guess. Maybe not as fun for a fan of Columbus who was in the final one year and expects probably to do great the next year, but ends up being terrible. So, I mean, I'll give the league credit on that. They do there's a lot of parity and it makes it fun.
Yeah, I'll give you some credit for being so glassy, but yes, Mike.
Yeah, I agree a little bit, but I think you do need to have like a couple dominant teams. I think you need. Sam just loves it. Your chin. No, I think you need to have some. Like you need like the Galaxy. Someone needs to have a year where you just kill it.
The Galaxy really did dominate from 2011 to 2014. With Donovan in his prime, Beckham.
But you hate Liverpool, right, Sam? You hate Liverpool.
I did. Shout out to the Foxes today for smashing Liverpool. Loved it.
There you go.
So
if there's an MLS, and people hate the Patriots.
Yeah.
So is there going to be an MLS team? You need one or two teams to become powerful, and then just so that there's a little bit of like, oh, they're the evil people and they're the good guys, and
I don't think there is a
team in the league.
I don't think there is.
No, funny thing actually, and I don't know how other teams feel about it, but from what I hear from supporters, it seems to be a lot of fans don't necessarily like the Sounders, maybe the Sounders fan group. I don't know what it is, but it's they have literally their fans have they're like most other fans think of them as like the hipsters of the soccer world, where they say we did it first, and then DC United's like our fans are like, oh, but how long have you been around? Did you really do it first? Or so they kind of have that arrogance about them, and it kind of can upset some other fans. From what I've heard, I haven't been around too many Sounders fans, but
I could see that. Yeah, I could totally dislike the Northwest of the United States at any time. So
I love it. I love the Northwest. It's a beautiful area.
They're the best
country.
to watch on TV.
But yeah, there's a ton of pencils that live there, like sleeve tattoos. They don't. None of the Seattle Sounders fans know how to play. No, I'm joking. Shout out to Seattle Sounders. But yeah, I mean, Seattle Sounders have grown so big, and they're opening up their stadium to like 60,000 next year. It's crazy to even think that. And, they were a great breakout team for the MLS. And with the two new teams coming in, Atlanta and Minnesota, there's very few teams that have made playoffs straight off the bat. I know Seattle Sounders did back in 2009. But who do you think is going to be the breakout team out of everyone this year? What surprises do you think will be about this season?
I mean, I don't think it would be, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think it would be a surprise if Atlanta was in the playoffs. I think that, and I might be a little bit biased, but I think DC United honestly has a good shot at making a run, surprising some teams. The biggest hit I've seen on them is that their back line is weak, but I honestly don't think that myself, just with Birnbaum playing. Boswell might be a little bit slow just because of his age, but we just brought in Maxim Tissot. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Canadian defender, and Taylor Kemp is, I think, a highly touted outside back, and I think we'll be all right across the back line. So I think DC has a decent shot in the East.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, in the West, it seems to be, obviously we're gonna see Seattle. We're going to see LA is probably going to provide something. I don't know quite yet, just because of the turnover there. But I mean, probably the Timbers and the Whitecaps will be in the playoffs as well. Or it's going to be, I think, a typical Western picture. I mean, I think honestly, Sporting Kansas City might double. Eric Palmer, I think was Eric Palmer Brown or whatever his name is. He's a good center back for them, and he's young and. Just got back from an international loan, which I think probably did him wonders. So I wouldn't be surprised if they surprise some teams out there. So,
I mean, with Connor, I want to talk to you about. Seattle won it last year. I think it was Toronto's loss. It was all a surprise with Seattle getting off to a poor start, firing their manager. Coming back, no one knew they would even make the playoffs halfway through the season, but they made the playoffs, went on to win. They're obviously defending the title this season. How do you think, Connor, Seattle will start off this season?
For their sake, I hope that they can start off better than they did last year. At one point, it looked like there was literally zero shot of them making the playoffs, and they had, by far the best second half of the season of any team, going on to even making playoffs, and then even finishing fourth was pretty much a miracle based off how poorly they started. But I think that they're going to be one of the favorites in the West. My personal we're going to get into this more later on. My personal favorite in the West is FC Dallas. But I think, Seattle can do it. Dempsey will be back. Nico Ladero, another year.
There's still doubts over Dempsey. It's not like he's back. It's not like he hasn't even played a game yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Dempsey's going to come back. I don't think we're going to see the same Dempsey as we did before, he couldn't play. I think that's one of the big question marks over Seattle, and that's a big DP player right now. So, if he comes back, the same Clint Dempsey as we've seen in previous years, then all's well, but they're kind of playing that card right now. And you like you said, FC Dallas could have won the whole thing. They could have won everything last season if it wasn't for Mauro Diaz's injury. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back as well.
Oh, my talking?
Yeah, you said you put your hand
No,
up.
I thought we were gonna go into. You forgetting about Jordan Morris too. He's gonna be his second year. You're looking at someone who's gonna take over games. There's gonna be games Jordan Morris just takes over the whole game. He's just gonna be stronger, faster. He's gonna just be killing it for Seattle. So you're not even gonna. I don't even think that Clint Dempsey there or not there will affect Seattle's success that much.
He clearly didn't. Last year, they were able to win the league without him. But him back in any capacity will be a positive. And Ladero will continue to improve, another year under his belt. And they added Harry Shipp as well this offseason, who is a player who hasn't had the best luck. He's bounced around a lot. But on his day, he's, pure pacey winger, creative, can score goals. So they got rid of a lot of their players, but they're younger at every position, which can go one way or the other, but I think Seattle is going to be they're going to be one of the best teams in the West, no doubt. I think the most interesting thing about the Western Conference is the LA Galaxy, which you usually don't say because the Galaxy are almost a lock to be good, but first year without Bruce, new Kurt Analfo in. He's coached he's been a manager in the MLS 2 other times, hasn't worked out, but
yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Like, I wanted to bring that up, like Robbie Keane's gone now, Steven Gerrard's gone, Alan Gordon's gone, AJ De La Garza's gone, and Bruce Arena and the entire staff have gone. How are they going to bounce back, Connor? It's going to be really interesting how Dos Santos is going to carry this team forward.
Yeah, he's going to be the star of that team, and rightfully so. I think that it's time for the Gio era in LA and get Keane's gone, but signed 23-year-old João Pedro from Portugal, who was being looked at by Porto and other various bigger clubs around Portugal. And the Galaxy were able to sign him. And he's a 23-year-old midfielder. He's supposed to be very, very good. Jelly Van Dam, he just signed a contract extension. Arguably the best center back in the league. And they just brought in Roman Alessandrini from Marseille, and that's a good attacking player up top. So I think that they're going to be very interesting. I don't think they're going to win the West. I think they'll be in contention. But at the same time, I could see where the wheels kind of fall off a little bit, and they kind of struggle this year because Bruce Arena was such a mainstay. He was such a force for them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to picture the Galaxy without Bruce. So,
and I think it's a big year as well for the Galaxy, especially with the new LA team coming in next year, and they want to play attractive football. They want to keep their fans, and it's going to be split to see how that city's going to go with the new LA team coming in next year. But I
agree.
Yeah, what I really like though, my tip for the Western is Timbers. I think they've acquired 2 great players, young DP players. Guzman from Costa Rica, he's come in. I think they have like the best kind of team going forward with Nagbe, Valeri, Blanco from Argentina's come in, and Chara. And I think they're really strong, and if all those guys stay fit, I think they're one of the scariest teams attacking-wise in the Western Conference.
Yeah, no, Portland, and they got Jeremy Abobise too, he's playing with the under 20s right now down in Costa Rica for the CONCACAF tournament. But yeah, Portland has to almost bounce back because not making the playoffs last year after winning the league, I know for Caleb Porter that's not good enough, and I'm sure those supporters it's not good enough. So that's a team that's going to have to bounce back, and they are more than talented. I think Fanedo Addy is one of the best strikers in the league.
All right, so did you guys want to talk, name your
Well, that's what I was going to do. I was going to go, let's go. All right, chill.
Right.
I was just about to do that.
Well, I was bringing CJ on there.
Yeah, I was just going to go around. We'll go tips for the Western Conference. Who do you think's going to come out on top for the Western Conference this year? We'll start with CJ.
I think you'd have to give the nod to Seattle. They figured stuff out towards the end of the season under the new manager, and like Connor said, they're younger, arguably better in terms of Jordan Morris. Like you said, he's got another year under his belt. If they get Clint Dempsey back, it's dangerous. And Lodiero, I mean, he's a fantastic player. And if Clint Dempsey and him are together, I mean, you could talk about Clint Dempsey potentially winning Golden Boot if that's the situation they're dealing with. So I think that's a really dangerous squad out west.
How about you, Chin?
I assume that I'm Chin, so I'll go. I think FC Dallas, man. I believe in FC Dallas so much. I've enjoyed them the last 3 years. I believe in their mission of just their young talent that they're bringing up. They added 2 more homegrown players to their roster this year. Really solid defense, honestly, with Walker Zimmerman, Matt Hedges. Matt Hedges won Defender of the Year last year, and I think everyone that watched the U.S. camp was impressed by Zimmerman. So you have 2 of the best center backs in the league. Kellen Acosta, if he plays in the back, plays in the midfield, plays in the wing, a very versatile young player. But a lot of FC Dallas' success is going to come back to Mauro Diaz being healthy. He's going to miss the first half.
He's going to be back in the summer, right?
Yup. They brought in Javier Morales, MLS vet from Real Salt Lake. So he's basically going to be filling in that role until Diaz gets back. But if Diaz gets back and can play at the levels we saw last year before he got hurt and the year before that, they are such a dangerous team. And last year, despite losing Mauro Diaz, they won the Open Cup and the Supporters Shield. So I think going forward, the club is going to they have to win the MLS Cup, I'm sure, in the club's mind and the supporters' mind, winning 2 trophies last year. But I guess my 2 honorable mentions would be Seattle. And I'm excited to see what Sporting Kansas City does this year. Not a whole lot of changes there, but like you said, Eric Palmer-Brown, young U.S. international coming back from Porto. Going to be real exciting to see how he plays after his time abroad.
My team to look out for in the Western Conference is Real Salt Lake. Look out for the 2 wingers. Got Brooks Lennon and one Landon Donovan, who will be coming back, storming down the wings, just causing havoc. No, I believe in what Sam was saying. I actually believe Portland's going to be I think Portland's going to be killer this year, and I got more to say about that later on the next one coming up. But I like Portland.
Yeah, I like Portland's setup this year as well, and I don't know how Galaxy are going to go forward with the players they've lost and Jermaine Jones coming in. I think they're really going to struggle this year for some reason, even though they do have Giovanni Dos Santos, who is the star of the league. And we'll see how that team plays out this season. But I kind of worry about them a little bit. But I think Portland and Seattle, I think the upper Northwest will be strong again. The huge crowd behind Seattle is going to push them forward. And like we said, if Dempsey comes back fit and healthy and back to what we're used to, then they're going to be very dangerous. And Jordan Morris, who's just getting better every season. All right, on to the Eastern Conference. Connor and I are going to go down for the opening day game down in Orlando City against NYCFC. How do you see NYCFC kicking off this season, Connor?
I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I was very pleased with what they did in the MLS draft by going from not having a first-round pick to trading up for 2 first-round picks. Jonathan Lewis looks to be really exciting. He's playing again with the under-20s down in Costa Rica right now for the CONCACAF tournament. But I think New York City FC is going to be fine. I'm interested to see what happens with the Red Bulls, honestly, because they've had a very, very interesting offseason. Parted ways last week with sporting director Ali Curtis, who was probably the best sporting director in the league.
And wasn't the manager going to go as well last month?
Right before the draft, Jesse Marsh was rumored to be going to Red Bull Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some, I know Dax McCarty came out this week and has given his opinion on his trade to Chicago Fire. I do want to hit Chicago Fire in a minute, in more depth, but he wasn't happy with the scenario. It seems like they've pretty much gotten rid of the sporting director role, and now Jesse Marsh has more power. Not that there's anything bad with that potentially, but it's just there's been some issues on the field, off the field, front office related. So gonna be kind of interesting to see what happens with the Red Bulls. But I'm excited for New York City FC. I think it's gonna be an improved year. I mean, they had a pretty good season last year, all things considered, finishing second in the East. But Mike, living down in New York, how's the buzz? What's the buzz like down in New York right now?
Oh, the buzz is big. You know what the buzz is about today? Mix Discaroo wrote a poem on Instagram. Did you guys hear about this?
I did.
Can you read it out for us?
Yeah, I'll read it out for you guys.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah,
This is Mix Discaroo's weird Norwegian half American accent. Just imagine it. He said, "Someone told me I'm not part of the plan, and if I was, he'd run like the others ran, because the budget is tight and binding contracts might be broken to improve 5 to 6 positions in exchange for only one man." Yeah, this goes on way too long. He went on to say, "The message is clear unless you're clueless, because you've lived it all year. Since the budget is tight and binding contracts might not need to be broken if you crack, kneel, or leave the hemisphere."
This is a joke, right?
No, he wrote all this out on his Instagram. "You could tell so straight and clearly, tales of destiny I fight sincerely, when mental games are attempting aims to make me rage severely." You know, Nick's is angry, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on, I gotta finish this. 2 more lines. On and on the conversation went about money spent. The dog loves it. And special rules and management tools, and something about allocation being different. Sent. The last verse, his last cipher. "I wish I had right there my pad, cause then my favorite line, fused by Robin Williams' spine, would play Dead Poets real bad."
Wow. Mic drop. Mic drop.
I think he's an early candidate to take over for Clint Dempsey as the best U.S. men's national team rapper. I mean,
how do you say the number 2 in Norwegian? Dude, I don't know.
Dude,
but
what a squid.
Yeah, I guess they hurt his feelings.
He's got some issues. Who do you think he's pointing that to? Jason
Gotta
Price? Miles
Patrick
Joseph?
Vieira. Patrick Vieira's son.
Yeah.
Think Patrick Vieira is scared of Mix Discaroo? I'd be afraid after that. That's some venom. Nah, Mix is soft. What a squid, dude.
I think he's just one of those guys that brings a pen and paper wherever he goes and just writes poems and journals, everything.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. He should just move to Seattle and Portland, become one of the Seattle Sounders supporter, and just be like,
so that's the buzz. That's the buzz on the Hudson these last few days. It's like Mix Discaroo down, by Statue of Liberty, just kind of, eating a sandwich, writing words down on a piece of paper, collecting his thoughts. Bless him. Anyway,
well,
go on.
Oh yeah, well, I think So I think Toronto, they're gonna crush it again. They have Giovinco's coming back, right? Altidore is gonna be killer. So
yeah, I want to talk about the Red Bulls. With Dax McCarthy going unexpectedly, long-term captain here, and management problems, sporting director problems. It's gonna be interesting to see how they're going to adapt to that. But with Kleston and Bradley Wright Phillips, if they link up well, I've seen a couple of games pre-season, they've linked up well, very well. Sasha Kleston especially seems like he's, hasn't lost his touch. He's going to be looking very, very sharp this season. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Bradley Wright Phillips is very prolific. Oh, Jesus Christ. But anyway, he scored a bunch of goals, and he's generally up there 1 or 2 in the top goal scorers for the MLS. So if they still have that, they're always going to be a threat. But with NYCFC, a new goalkeeper, Pirlo's still there. I'm excited to see the young guys. Jack Harrison, the young Englishman, still young, still 20, 21. He's going to be cool because it looks like he's going to get more of a starting role this season. Obviously NYCFC had a bunch of defensive problems last year. Looks like they've kind of tightened that up a little bit, especially with a new goalkeeper. I think losing Josh Saunders wasn't a huge deal.
No, he
was booty. But they picked up the Chicago Fire, Sean Johnson. He looks like he's a little bit better. 10 clean sheets last season. Orlando City, I think they're gonna struggle. I think Jason Kreis has a big task on his hands down there, even with the new stadium. Kaká looked half the player he was the season before, and I believe this could be his last season in the MLS. He was injured a lot last season, but it's going to be interesting to see how Orlando do down there with the new stadium.
I think Chicago is low-key not. I have them written down as my breakout team in the East, or pretty much my breakout team for the whole league. After they've only made the playoffs once in the last 7 years, the worst record in the league the last 2 seasons. They had a whole bunch of issues there, but adding Dax was huge. Added Juninho on loan from Tijuana. Used to be in the Galaxy, was instrumental in the Galaxy's more recent title runs. David Accam, good attacking player. It's just their defense. And Brandon Vincent, who was a teammate of Jordan Morris's at Stanford, has caps for the national team. I think that the Fire might turn things around. And if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think they can at least not finish dead last in the league and can improve greatly. And they signed this striker from he's Hungarian, Nemanja Nikolic from Legia Warsaw. 40 goals in 56 appearances last year. So that's pretty impressive. Their new DP player.
Mm-hmm. I think Toronto are definitely the favorites for this conference. They've kept most of their players. Giovinco looked like he was going to go to China. I know we discussed it in our previous pod. Altidore and Bradley and Giovinco hit the heights that they did last season. They're definitely the strongest team. If it wasn't for one kick, they would have won the cup last season. I think they're definitely the strongest team in that conference still. In terms of Montreal, the other Canadian team, Drogba's obviously gone now. They still do have Piatti. How do you see them, either of those two Canadian teams, doing this season, Connor?
I think Toronto. I picked Toronto to win the East. Finished third in the East last year, but they're simply, to me, just the best team in the league, top to bottom. That core three of Giovinco, Bradley, and Altidore, especially if Altidore is scoring goals, which he was, especially in the later part of last year. I think that they are the best team in the East. Montreal might struggle a little bit. They still have Mancuso, that striker that pretty much benched Drogba. Piatti's great, but we'll see what happens in the East, I guess. CJ, what are your thoughts on the East?
Yeah, as everyone pretty much said, Toronto I think is the favorite. That team is just too good right now. When I have seen them play in person, you can definitely tell they're just a step above, and I don't think there's too many contenders that are looking like they can take that seat away from them right now.
Yeah, well, who's your pick, Mike, for the Eastern Conference?
I was the first one. I said Toronto. That was 25 minutes ago. Yeah, I said Toronto.
All right, Connor, who you got for the Eastern Conference?
Toronto.
And I know your answer, CJ. It's got to be decent. Yep. It's got to be decent.
Yeah, that's the dream, but I think honestly it's Toronto. Just too good right now.
I'm into everybody's breakout player and MVP though. I want to know that.
I can't give my opinion yet.
Yeah, you go. All right.
As much as I'm kind of forced to support NYCFC, having CJ on the show, I've got to be leaning towards DC United this season. So I'm a Man United fan. I'm flying down to fucking Florida for this Sky Blue. I don't know why. Why am I doing this, Connor, again?
I believe it's for the culture.
Yeah, fucking dick. I would love to catch a game down at DC. Throw some tickets our way, CJ.
If I have any pull, I'll do that. New York City FC comes to town. Mm-hmm. I want to say in April. So
we do have season tickets, don't we?
I'll go to that. I'll come to that if I'm invited. All right, whatever, guys.
I'm going to go, DC United all the way. There we go.
There you go.
There we go, lad.
There you go.
So, players breaking out this season, we've mentioned a few earlier.
I think we should name your breakout player and then follow with your MVP. If you think.
All right, who you got, Mike?
All right, cool. All right, I got my breakout player is gonna be my man Andrew Carlton, which we were talking about. Didn't remember his name at the beginning of the podcast, but he is my breakout player. But it's all going to be in the second half of the season, and I actually think it's going to catapult him, and he's going to be in that new Pulisic position, actually getting time in about a year from now in the friendlies warming up for the World Cup. I actually think that might actually happen. I think that's how talented that kid might be. I don't know if he'll make the roster or not for the 2018 World Cup, but I think he's going to be at least talked about and get a little bit of time. But MVP of this season, I think, is because the guy's perfect age to have the best season he's ever had, is going to be Nagby in Portland. I think he's just going to kill it. Ooh. I think he's going to be because, he lacks a little bit of passion and fierceness. I think he's just going to bring it, and because he's going to see the opportunities with Bruce and playing, and then also the whole Celtic deal falling apart. I'm just guessing it's going to light a little bit of fire under him to really, especially the first half of the season. I think watch out for him. I think he's going to end up taking out the MVP.
For me, my breakout player is Jack Harrison, runner-up Rookie of the Year last year. I think he had 4 goals last year, 21 appearances. So I'm really excited to see what he can do for New York City FC. MVP has to be Giovinco. Should have won it last year. It's not the most, not the craziest pick, but I think that Giovinco will just continue to do what he's done 2 seasons running now, score goals. And, do his thing. CJ, what about you?
Breakout, I want to say probably, I think it's Almiron from Atlanta United. They're one of their DPs. He's, from what I heard, he's they're pretty hype about this kid. So he's fairly young. I think that, I don't even know if you can consider him a breakout because he was getting attention from European clubs, I believe, before Atlanta landed him. But, so, that's who I think would probably be your breakout in MLS. People will know who he is, I think, by the end of the year. As for MVP, I think it'd be pretty – it never would happen, but and I know Mike will love this, but imagine if Landon Donovan won the Landon Donovan MVP trophy at the end of the year. But in all seriousness –
that's what they call it. It's the Landon Donovan trophy now, right?
Yeah, it'd be great to just see him hoist that.
I fuck Nagby. I think it's Landon. I think you might actually play for San Jose. That would be the whole
that's full circle. Yeah. There you go. But in all honesty, I think before the show I was thinking Giovinco, but honestly, I'll go out on a limb. Let's say Lodiero from the Sounders, and I'd hate to be saying that right now, but he's a good player, and I think he has a shot at the trophy. So I think that'd be huge for him and for Seattle.
All right. Before I make my pick, I'm getting a little bit tipsy here. My friend gave me this huge can.
You have a giant Carlsberg.
It's huge. I have 2 for you guys, and this was a potential sponsor for the Third Touch podcast, so I'm not going to read out the name. My good friend Richie Hayes gave me 3 of these cans. The beer begins with C, so thanks. We're looking for sponsorship. Anyway, I'm getting a little tipsy. I've nearly finished the can. So these judgments might be a little off. So I'm gonna go with
product placement.
I did shout out the name by the accident before you're saying it.
Did you?
Yeah, whatever. Edit it out. It's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. So, I'm gonna go with Ian Harkes. I think he's gonna come out raging. His dad's jobless. He's gonna come out young lad. I think he's gained a lot of experience. We did see him in the NCAA tournament, and he was one of the standout performers. I think he's going to have a good season, just like Jordan Morris did this season. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year if he starts. So good luck with him this season. He's a bright spark, and he's been touted as one of the best young players in the MLS this season. So that's going to be really exciting to see. MVP, I'm going to go with my fellow countryman, Dom Dwyer. He's just applied for citizenship. I think he's going to score a shit ton of goals again for Kansas, and he's going to get called up to the national team. Why are you guys laughing?
You're so proud.
Why not?
Yeah. Can I tell you something about Dom Dwyer? I don't really know much about him, but I think his name sounds really boring, so I need to check it out. I never look him up. I'm just like, oh yeah, that guy's good. I guess that's what Sam says.
Yeah, he's going to score a shit ton of goals. Watch, he's going to be in the national team, and you're going to be upset again, just like Timmy's America upset.
No, I'm too busy watching old Freddie Adu highlights to.
How would you feel, Mike? Dom Dwyer being captain of the USA team, lifting the World Cup, going, "Here's to fucking America, I'm fucking have it, lads."
Wait, if he talks like that,
would that piss you off?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Why?
Well, what did I say? I said you can be on the team as long as you use the word dude.
Yeah, that was Mike's only criteria for playing for the national team.
Just a little bit of American culture, like dude, whatever.
All right, we are running out of time, but I do wanna talk about the Leicester City Liverpool game. Ranieri got sacked. You missed the episode on Thursday again, Mike. New manager for Leicester City, the caretaker manager. Put in a great performance against Liverpool today. Won 3-1. Jamie Vardy looked energetic. Mahrez even. I mean, I still think Mahrez he kind of had a poor game. He looked half himself to this whole season compared to last season. But they looked way more energetic than they did a couple of weeks ago. And Leicester have climbed themselves out of the bottom three again. Liverpool again put another poor performance against a team in the bottom half. Liverpool, we've seen them. I remember when we had Paul on the episode a couple of weeks ago, they were coming off that great performance against Tottenham Hotspur, who were really tough to score against. But Leicester City, Vardy got 2 goals, and Drinkwater, a great volley. How do you see Leicester going on from here on out until the end of the season?
I think it's too soon to predict, really, because I wasn't expecting that result today. I don't think anyone really was. It's just crazy how much if it was. What are you putting your hands up for?
Why not? Why weren't you expecting that result today? They're clearly capable of beating teams in the top 4. They proved that last season.
Yeah, last season, dog. They've been booty this year.
They beat Man City 2 months ago. 3-0.
Yeah, great. They're level on points with on relegation. That's sick. They beat City 3 months ago.
Yeah, dog. Anytime I do an argument, that actually convinced me, Connor. Anytime I'm in an argument with someone, I was like, "No, we never went to that restaurant before, dog."
No, but Leicester was back to their old ways. I kind of felt bad for Ranieri after the players not playing for him.
Why?
And
you really don't think they play for him? You don't think they went to Sevilla and tried their best?
Sure, they've tried their best, but not in the Premier League.
Okay. All right. Do you see the game today, CJ?
Yeah, part of it. I was watching it from my desk at work, so I was actually excited. I'm a United fan as well. But, so anytime Liverpool goes down, it's big news. Yeah. Yeah, so, and I honestly, loved the, last season seeing Leicester do what they did. So it was nice to see them, come out and Vardy. It was a Vardy party today, so, had to love that.
Yeah, I was at the bar just before I went to pick my son up from school, and this regular comes in. I was checking on Nick. Don't worry.
He owns the bar. Jesus.
And I know Chris Pratt.
All right, that's his best friend, dog.
So I'm at the bar. This regular comes in, and he was like, "What the fuck? Why? Why'd they fire Ranieri?" I was like, "Well, it's not good enough. He's around teams that fired their manager this season. He's in the relegation zone." He's like, "Yeah, but they won the league last season." I was like, "That doesn't give him a right." Plus, I don't really think Ranieri cares. So why are we feeling sad for someone who doesn't care really for being out of work for the next 5 years or whenever he chooses to go back to work? He's just signed a 5-year contract at the end of last season. These players were given gifts. Their wages were tripled after the season. This team cannot get relegated. Because if they do, it's not like the Newcastle situation where a lot of their players were on kind of mediocre wages, not like the Leicester City players are. They can rebound from the Championship. As soon as you get relegated from from the Premier League and still get that parachute payments, this team cannot get relegated with the amount of, their contracts that some of these players are on. So I think Leicester City and the owners had every right to fire Ranieri, and I don't know why these people are coming out and feeling sorry for him. It's a sad story. I just don't feel sad for Ranieri, if I want to put it that way.
Yeah, I don't feel particularly sorry either.
It may just be an energy thing, right? Like after you had that high with somebody, and then the next year it's just not working, it's not working, and it's not even his fault. You just need to remove him just to like release the energy, like whatever he was doing, the energy wise of the club, it was wrong. Because what the performance today was probably their best of the season, right?
I think the one against Man City was better. I mean, Liverpool did dominate.
Still very, very good performance.
Yeah,
today.
It was. And with Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, I mean, he needs to fix that back four. Like, as much as people say Milner's having a good season at left back, he's not a fucking left back. He just isn't a left back. And Lucas, Jesus Christ, he doesn't really have that good of a team, does he? And he's been there for 18 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but he looks so cool. So
yeah, great.
He does, and he's going to try to sign Pulisic, I believe. So
I don't think Pulisic's going to go there. But I just want to thank CJ for coming on, joining us here at the Third Touch podcast. We're all looking forward to the MLS season coming up. But
thank you guys.
Yeah, from all of us here at the Third Touch podcast. We'll see you in Orlando next week. Connor and I will be doing an episode. Is that okay, Mike? Can you handle that?
What day? When are you doing it? The season opener?
Yeah, we're going Sunday. We're going to hit the bars first, and then go back to the hotel and do a pod.
Do a podcast, do a drunken podcast. All right, call me. I mean, we'll set it up. Let's do it.
All right. Okay.
Down. All right.
All right. So MLS season this Friday, 9:30. Portland Timbers against Minnesota United. Subscribe. I guess do you want to say anything to help DC United out? Buy the package. I'm sure you get a percentage of that.
No, unfortunately I don't. But definitely, catch some games. For you guys, come down to old rickety RFK one time before they, like I said, tear that shit to the ground, and then you'll have to come back to Audi Field next year. So
perfect.
Be a good time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. MLS is growing. America's soccer's growing. The Third Touch is growing. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Tweet us at the Third Touch. Dawg.
Aye.
Yeah, that was a terrible ending. All right.
Oh, that was great. That was great, dude.
Cue the music. All right. Thanks everyone.
That was a good episode.
The good stuff.